This is the virtual launch of Amelia Disappears and Signs and Wonders. And so, everyone, if we could just be still for the national anthem.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless hours. To our leaders, great defenders, grant true wisdom from above. Justice fruits be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us the weak to cherish. Give us visions lest we perish. Knowledge sent us, Heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above. Justice truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love.
This is the 106th anniversary of the birth of Miss Lou. And so, as we remember Miss Lou and honor Miss Lou, we honor this occasion for storytelling, which is what her life and example was all about. We're also so grateful for the words of our national anthem that remind us that we are duty bound to have respect for all. We'd like to ask now our very wonderful and generous sister, priestess Imani McFarlane, to open with prayer.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Blessed love. Before I start praying, I must commend my sister, Angela Punky Stultz, who I met during her time here in Boston. On a train, and I tell you, it's just been a wonderful journey. She's a phenomenal woman. She's a great mother, a wonderful sister, a best friend who doesn't judge you, and just a servant of God. So with saying that, thank you so much, Angela, for giving me the honor to join you and your colleagues in this very special moment. Heavenly Father, I come before your mercy seat in the mighty name of Yahweh, in the mighty name of Yeshua, in the mighty name of Jesus, in the mighty name of El Shaddai, in the mighty name of our ancestors, the luminous one, masters, ascended masters, and master to the throne. We thank you. We thank you, Empress Menen, for giving the example of the divine feminine. Today we gather to honor a beautiful divine feminine on her work, on her journey. Lord, we like to lift her up in prayer. We like to lift everyone here up in prayer. The books that she has written. Father God, we asking you to shine the light upon her, shine the light upon her work, that she can continue to do your work. Heavenly Father, I call up on our ancestor, Papa Ilegua, the door opener, that he would open every door possible from the east to the west to the north and the south to bring forward the success that she deserves. I call upon the Archangel Michael to guide and protect her as she do the work of the Creator. Lord, you're the author of our faith and you're the keeper of our soul. You're kings of kings. You're the Lord of lords. You're the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah and the Godhead of this universe. Lord, without you, none of this is possible. So we asking you to continue to have mercy upon us and have mercy upon the leaders of all nations, because these days we are living in a very difficult time. So I'm asking you to illuminate the minds of the leaders of the countries on this planet so they can do the right thing for humanity. Just as Sister Angela has been doing her work for humanity, and you've been blessing her, you blessed her abundantly. Father God, I ask you that you will continue to bless her, widen her territory, open every door from the east to the west to the north and the south, and let her work be an example to mankind. Let those books reach from the east to the west to the north to the south of this planet, Father God, and do the work that it was meant to do. These things I present to you, your humble servant. Father God, lend your ears to my supplication as I pray that this launch will bring nothing but success abundantly for each and every one that has joined this launch today. These things I pray in Christ's almighty name. Amen.
Let the company of all of us who are joined say amen.
Amen.
And
Amen.
Ashe,
Amen.
Ashe, it's
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you.
Ashe.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo. Well, you know, you just have to breathe in that prayer, that spirit that has been presented to us. Thank you so much, Empress Imani McFarlane. And now, you know, we are nothing without the ancestors and the ancestral grounds that we stand on, the shoulders that we stand on. And so I call Ian McKnight for an ancestral acknowledgement, our ancestors of Jamaica and our ancestors in Canada, where Angela is located and where Ian is located.
We just join consciousness because we're rebels. We join consciousness because we've been brought to different places from our original homes, and the places we call home, we have to reverence those. And we do so today mindful that many of us have and occupy spaces that are not our original places. We've been taken through oppression, pain, hurt. Some have been disenfranchised to be in spaces like these. And we simply pause to honor those on whose shoulders we stand and the real owners of the land. And we know our roots will never, ever be taken from us, no matter where we're planted. And like Angela, like many of us, we will thrive in spaces where we're planted. But we acknowledge and reverence those who are the owners, those who are the original and the true owners. We pause to remember people in Jamaica, people around the world, here in Canada too, who still cannot enjoy the sovereignty of their land, who have been deprived of the land and the rights that are theirs. We bring them into this space and know that to remain silent is not an option, but instead to flex the rebel which is in all of us. Jimmy Cliff's rebel in you. rebel in me to take us out. Thank you.
If the rebel in me can touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you can touch a rebel in me, and the rebels we be is gonna set us free. Then it will bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel in me. If the lover in you can touch the lover in me, and the lover in me can touch a lover in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in me. My love is deeper than the ocean. Our love is in need of sweet devotion. Come on, because you got the portion to bring out the love in me, and I will bring out the love in you. Let the lover in you touch the lover in me, and the rebel in me will touch a rebel in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in us.
Thank you, Ian. And so to the native peoples of these Americas, of Jamaica, of Canada, all the native peoples on the planet, we thank you, we honor you. We say, your ancestors, we are grateful for your shoulders. You know, we have, and I should just pause to, let me pause and just acknowledge everyone, all 47 of us who are gathered on the Zoom this evening. I recognize members of communities that Angela has worked in Jamaica, and colleagues from community development work. I recognize colleagues in Canada and all across the world that have joined. Those of you in the United States, we welcome you, and peace and blessings on everyone. If I could now then ask for our Consul General to Miami, Oliver Mayer, to bring greetings on behalf of the diplomatic community of Jamaica.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol, and it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
And you know, I see my good friend Elaine Wint, Sir Ian McKnight. And I should tell you, if I should ever run into any type of problem, Empress Iman, I'm going to reach out to you personally to come and pray for me, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here. And, you know, this has just been a very special week for us. You know, I'm based in Florida, and we had a lovely celebration for Miss Lou celebrating her birthday on September 7th. And we did a show, had Faith Ellington, Blacker Ellis, and the entire Louis Bennett Heritage Council, and did a full-scale celebration of Miss Lou's birthday. And she's really been our mother of culture. She has created a platform that as a people we can speak with confidence, and speak our patois and do our drama pieces, say what we have to say, and not just about comedy, but serious matters, and help to perpetuate our dynamic culture around the world. And I salute Miss Lou. And in that context, I think it's so fitting that here we're celebrating the birth of two major books, Amelia Disappears and Signs and Wonders, Sojourn in the Inner City, which is 10 stories that speak to people's hopes, resilience, tangible interventions and triumphs in the face of trials. And what a fitting message it is at this time when we going through so many challenges with the pandemic, that we have a story that is based on true stories in Signs and Wonders. And as I mentioned, Signs and Wonders, I don't know if it passed anybody that when Corolla was speaking, as she mentioned Signs and Wonders, then we didn't hear a song. I'm sure our forefathers are with us, they're protecting us, they're guiding us. And I've just met Angela, and just in the brief interaction I've had with her, I can see why the community has rallied behind her with love, because she clearly is somebody who was given a lot, just what I've read about her briefly. And we want to give back to you now, Angela, in that regard, calling on the community, everybody here who is on this Zoom call, support, support, support. Purchase a book, share a book. We have Christmas coming. We should be giving out these books for Christmas gifts. We should be sharing the work of our people globally. This lady needs to be a success right across the world. And we declare with the blessing of Empress Imani that it is done. We are going to celebrate the creative arts, and it starts today. I know I'm speaking to the choir, but we have to do it. We have to be the ones to buy the books and share it. And I also speak prophetically that my daughter, who is looking to write her first book at 14, that it's going to happen as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to especially salute our women who have been making us proud in the Olympics, the 1, 2, 3. And here we have Angela just adding to that cohort of ladies who are now leading the way. Well, they'll say they have always led the way, and I will agree. We thank you, ladies, for what you have been doing. You have been making us proud. Continue to do what you're doing. We're proud of you, and we will be supporting this book. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Consular General of Miami, Oliver Mayer. So glad that you could join us and bring us those words. And yes, indeed, as Oliver has said, we could buy up the books, Christmas will come, and these will make wonderful gifts. And in this segment, we are launching Amelia Disappears. And Amelia Disappears, the adventure of a little girl who lives with her grandmother. Wonderful story, making for a wonderful gift for children at the end of this year. Amelia Disappears. Amelia is with her grandmother and her cousins, a book situated here in the Caribbean. And Amelia's grandmother, Grandmother Myrna, is a famous palm reader. How many of us know about that? Eh? Yes, put up the hands. We know about palm readers. We know about the Wana women. Yeah. And so Grandma Myrna is a famous palm reader who reads strangers' palms as her occupation. And Grandma Myrna uses what? Oils. Yes, oils and herbs to bring her clients good luck. Well, Amelia is often embarrassed, as we all have been, by our grandparents and sometimes even our parents. So Amelia is often embarrassed by the smell of these oils that her grandma rubs on her, and more so when she has to go to school and sit down near to people and sit down in exams, and all she can smell is the little rub up that her grandma has put on her. We can all identify with Amelia. So in this segment, we're going to be bringing excerpts from Amelia Disappears, but could I just ask for Angela to be on screen so that we could just acknowledge Angela? Angela? There she is. Can we give Angela author a round of applause as we get ready to read, to hear excerpts of Amelia Disappears. And so Angela Punky Stultz, Jamaican author who has combined her childhood memories as well as her deep understanding of community culture, bringing those two things, her childhood memories, her grounding as a product of Standpipe in St. Andrew, and her work in community development, bringing all of those together to write Amelia Disappears. Angela is an award-winning author. Her book, Signs and Wonders, is a finalist in the American Book Fest Best Book Award. And no doubt Amelia Disappears will also enjoy its full share of awards. We're going to have excerpts of the book to start us off. And the first excerpt is from Angela's granddaughter, and we'll hear from several of Angela's grandchildren because, of course, Angela is herself a grandma several times over. She'll tell us how many. And so join me in welcoming and celebrating the first of our readers, Asia Lee Kroll. Welcome, Asia Lee.
Hello, my grandbaby.
Evening.
Good evening.
Okay, read from Nana now.
It said, the house was empty except for a jug with freshly made juice on top of the kitchen table. No other evidence of Grandma Myrna. I was thirsty and the constant running had made me out of breath. I furtively looked right and then to my left. No sign of Grandma Myrna, just me and the jug of juice. To make sure I was not caught by surprise, I called out in a sing-song voice, Grandma, Grandma! No answer. I hesitated no further, grabbed the jug, put it to my mouth, and guzzled. I could not discern the taste, but it had a sweet and sour taste like tamarind fruit. I gulped some more juice, wiped my mouth with the hem of my uniform, and waited for it to digest. My cousins and I like to guzzle our drink and compete for the loudest burp. When we were out of Grandma's eyes and earshot, the burp was loud and came with such force. I felt as if the wind had knocked me out. Oddly, I felt myself floating. Just then, Grandma Myrna came out from the toilet and walked right past me, as if she didn't see me. She mumbled, I could swear here one of them picnic come on. Grandma, I said. Hey, Grandma, you're going blind. You just passed me. Grandma turned around. She looked around, and then she purred into my face. Surely Grandma was playing a game with me, because I was standing right there in front of her. Grandma, you're too funny, I said with a giggle. Grandma Myrna bumped into me and screamed before collapsing on the floor. Oh, oh Lord, what was wrong? I thought. I grabbed the eucalyptus oil Grandma kept on the night table and put the bottle under her nose. Grandma sniffed, opened her eyes, and grabbed wildly for my hand. I realized her intention and placed my hand in hers. Sadness overwhelmed me. My Grandma Myrna had suddenly gone totally blind. Grandma Myrna brushed my hand and asked, Child, did you drink the juice on the table? I nodded yes, but remember Grandma Myrna was now blind, so I had to speak. I said, Yes, Grandma. Sorry to drink so much, but I was really thirsty. Grandma Myrna fainted. I wish my cousins would hurry home because not only was Grandma Myrna blind, but she kept having these fainting spells. In a slow, purposeful speech, and in a tone I had never heard Grandma use before, she said, "Child, hold on to your grandma hand. We need to go in my bedroom so I could show you something." Grandma gripped my hand ever so tightly, and together we made our way into the bedroom. She kept mumbling, Lord Jesus, help me," while beating the top of her head with the left hand. "Oh, Lord Jesus!" Grandma Myrna was not coping with the sudden blindness very well. I felt very sorry for her and began to cry. Grandma said, "Hush, child, you're going to be good. You hear me, Amelia? What you're gonna see may scare you, but I don't want you to be afraid. Everything will be back to normal by tomorrow morning, okay?" It was no use. I was now filled with trepidation. Grandma Myrna never called me Amelia unless I had done something bad or it was a serious situation. I was Amelia to her and my immediate family. That's it.
Thank you so much, Amelia.
Well done.
Wonderful. Well read. And we all know when grandma calls us by our right name, what that means. Thank you, Ashley. Lovely, well read, Ashley. And it gives us an inkling of the story. Well, Amelia accidentally is going to stumble on her grandmother's age-old family secret, and thus will begin her adventure. And so to take us further on this adventure, we'll have the next excerpt from Joyce Mackenzie. And I should just introduce Joyce. You know, Joyce has uh, supported the work of the Escorner Community Development Center, which Angela was executive director of for many, many years in Jamaica, through the Jamaica Self-Help Partners, a Canadian-based organization, development partner organization, which supported the work of Escorner over several years, the homework programs, the community development activities of all sorts, the training programs. And Joyce is no stranger to Jamaica. So welcome, Joyce, and let's hear the second excerpt of Amelia Disappears.
Thank you, Carol. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I had a chat with Angela and we made a little revision. I was feeling uncomfortable reading with the children because I didn't think that it was a good idea. I thought the children should be the highlight of the reading. So I said to Angela, would it be okay if I highlight another skill of Angela's that maybe everyone doesn't know about? Everyone knows that she's a writer. Everyone knows that she's a community development person. But did you know that she's a tour leader? 2 years ago, we organized a trip through Jamaica Self-Help for anybody who would like to come and try to understand the whole island of Jamaica. And at great expense, we hired Angela to be the leader of the trip, even though she hadn't been to the whole of the island and nobody else on the trip knew a lot about. So we were kind of, in a way, groping in the dark, but did we ever have a good time? And did we ever see some sights that we never thought we would see? And also, Angela met the artist that did Amelia Disappears on that trip. And he also put together the photo book of the trip, Rob Neatson, that you're going to be hearing from. So honestly, Angela was the most charismatic leader you would ever want to find. along with the bus driver, Ian, and the bus owner, Numa, we ate up everything. We stayed in the campground, which the people weren't really prepared for, the kind of Spartanness of camping out in Jamaica. We went to the Maroon Town. We just hit it all, and we avoided the tourists. We also visited our projects in Kingston, and everybody was delighted. So thank you for letting me interrupt the story of Amelia in order to highlight Angela, the tour guide. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joyce. And Joyce should perhaps have mentioned that she was a really big support to Angela as Angela was writing and began writing, especially Signs and Wonders, Sojourn in the Inner City. So let's then hear from Tehima and Tivona Rodney. Both are also Angela's grandchildren. For their pre-recorded, Tehima and Tivona are in London, and so they have shared a pre-recorded video of their reading of an excerpt of Amelia Disappears.
My name's Tivona, and my favourite part of the book Amelia Disappears was finding out the funny nicknames that Amelia and her cousins were given. Today is examination day, and the classroom is extremely quiet. Like me, my classmates are all sitting hunched over the test paper on their desk. I tap my pencil on the desk in a nervous rhythm. All the choices given on the multiple choice test appear to be the correct answer, except for the D, which I quickly eliminate. My brows crease in concentration, and sweat dribbles from my forehead and plops on the test paper. Confidently, I circle B. I know that it's the correct answer. I glance up at the large round clock on the classroom wall. We only have 1 minute left, and I have 2 mathematical problems remaining. My anxiety makes me sweat, heightening the distinct smell of the oil my grandmother rubbed on me earlier this morning. I pray the girls sitting on either side of my desk do not smell me. The sweat tickles my nostril, and I feel a sneeze coming. Oh no, please God, I pray. Too late, I let out a loud achoo, spraying Logan sitting in front of me. He hisses his teeth in disgust and angrily wipes the mucus that has made its way to the back of his arms. Everyone turns around to look at me, and I shrink further down into my seat. The teacher, Mr. Blackburn, an old man with spectacles way too big for his thin, angular face, stops his pacing around the room to inquire, "Are you okay, Amelia?" I nod, too embarrassed to speak. Oh, I wish I could disappear.
Hi, my name's Tehima Cabarodney, and this is my favourite part from Amelia Disappears. At the sound of the school bell later that day, I immediately ran all the way home from school. I wanted to make it home and to the bathroom before my cousins, Araya and Tivona did. I wished to wash the smell of Grandma's oil from my body. I suspected the drum of water would be almost empty with Grandma washing, cooking, and bathing her clients. I also knew the day had not gone any better for either of the 3 of us. On exam days, the cheering would increase to new heights. The children would chant, "Omoili, Oroili, Tavoili," over and over again. Oh, I wish I could disappear. I made it home in record time, helped by Miss Betty's bulldog, who chased me through the shortcut that I had taken. Inside the house was empty except for a jug of freshly made juice on top of the kitchen table. No other evidence of Grandma Marina. I was thirsty, and the constant running had made me out of breath. I furtively looked to my right and then to my left. No sign of Grandma Marina, just me and the jug of juice. To make sure I was not caught by surprise, I called out in a sing-song voice, "Grandma! Grandma!"
Indeed. So, I hope your appetite is whetted for the wonderful story of Amelia Disappears, because this book is for uh, ages, I would say, a, a 4 5 year old all the way up would enjoy this story. So thank you so much to Tivona and to Hema for their reading all the way from London. And so it's my thrill now to introduce and just bring forward the woman of the hour, the author, the community development practitioner, the all-round super fabulous woman, Angela Punky Stultz. As I said, Angela has been, the signs and wonders that she writes about and which you'll hear about later on. Angela's life is a life of signs, a life of wonders, a life of making a way when others don't see a way, a life of celebrating every moment that she's alive, and a life of giving. Angela Stultz has worked for many, many decades in Jamaica in community development, changing lives, making a difference to countless numbers of persons. And so this dispensation of her life uh, finds her in Canada, in Toronto, and working for People with AIDS Foundation in Toronto, the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation. But Angela has also made the time, finally, for writing. And so please join me in welcoming and celebrating and ululating for Angela Punky Stultz. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you to everyone who has spoken so far. I can hear Ian saying it's not the time yet for thank you, so go ahead with the speechify. So I will not be going to the speech of thank you, but to really introduce to you, as Carol said, another illustration of signs and wonders in my life, the introduction to Rob, because Amelia Disappears is a children's book. And in writing a children's book, you have to be mindful of a lot of things. The 2,000 word count, you have to make it simple yet provoking. And you have to, so that the child will question because you want them to learn. And not too long, because you have to hold their attention span. And you have to remember, so the people who read in the book to them, mommy, daddy, caregiver, tired and want sleep. So the book has to be short and spicy for both mommy, daddy, and child. And a whole heap of picture. So let's look at Amelia Disappears and see if it reached the criteria. It reached it, not true. A whole heap of picture from start to finish. Every single page, picture, great illustration. But illustration is a money making, is money. You have to have money for a book, for a children's book with the illustrator. So that means if I write a book and it's filled with so much picture and from an accomplished illustrator, that means I have money, right? Nah, just a trailer load of blessings. Just a trailer load of blessings just shining. Based on my connection with the Most High Jehovah God, I utter and I receive. And meeting Rob Neeson is another that I would be saying, and it's only fair to say, that is a miracle. And I need to tell you about it, because Joyce just tell you a little bit of the story. So, 2.5 years ago, January 2019, Joyce asked me to be tour guide. Never be tour guide yet, don't know all the island, but know, enough to make it go. Taking them to Maroon Town through the hills and valleys of Jamaica and making sure that 15 tourists who never come to Jamaica yet before understood the culture, understood more of our history and the impact of some policies that their government, international government, has made on us. So I had to bring in education and history and culture and all of it. And on that trip was Rob Mason and his wife, Sandy McFarlane. Now, I just treat them like I treat all human beings, with the rights that they deserve to be on planet Earth and be treated with dignity and respect. I had no idea who Rob was. I never knew said this is a big illustrator. And 2 years later, that would happen. Because Rob Mason is a painter, a printmaker and illustrator based in Dura, just east of Peterborough. Rob was born in the Netherlands and migrated to Canada in 2001. He worked in advertising and design for 25 years in Europe and Canada before focusing on art full time. His heart is influenced by European graphics, novels, and Dutch graphic tradition. And he claims cartoons have helped him, taught him how to draw. And his approach to layout and composition builds on his experience in advertising and graphic design. And narrative and visual contrast are essential elements in his art. So, I never know none of that, people. So here I am, fast forward, in Canada, 2019. And Joyce invited me to a book launch. And in that book launch, the illustrator was honoring the work of Miss Lou and showing illustration and pictures. And I am here in the audience and I am thinking, I can write and I have the children book, but I wish I could afford an illustrator. And I said it to Joyce that, I have children book, but I don't have an illustrator. And I wish I had one. Well, 2 weeks later, the phone rings. And that's Rob. I hear that you need an illustrator. The rest is history. So tell me now, people, signs and wonders. So make me, without further ado, introduce to you my illustrator, Rob Mason. Over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, and thank you for having me here tonight. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be in such a good company there. It was a pleasure to work with Angela on both her books and traveling with her in Jamaica and with the JSH group there. Going down to Kingston, downtown Kingston, to the schools, to the projects, where, as a normal tourist, you would never come there. And Angela just showed us the sites, but she gave us insight and an insider's view of life in Jamaica. And I think that informed me, not just me, but the whole group in a great way. And I think that enabled me to visualize and give context to the stories that of Amelia and of Amelia's grandmother, to create the characters, to create the visualization of the other people populating the story, and help set the mood, and to create a visual connection for the readers, and to give a spark for the reader to get their imagination going. And I think these are important elements or tasks of the illustrators. So that was such an invaluable trip, and Angela set us on that way. And I must commend Angela to share her story with me and share that in a way to allow me to create that visual world around it. It's a big thing. You have to trust the illustrator. It's like bearing a child, handing it over, and then it has to be dressed. It will be dressed by somebody else. So lastly, I would like to say that, I heartfully thank Angela for putting that trust in me as the illustrator for her books. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rob. And so Angela will now read an excerpt of Amelia Disappears.
All right. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Rob. Tonight my heart really swelled with pride because I'm doing this my way. I'm listening to my grandchildren on my bloodline read. And that for me is the answer when persons ask what inspired you to write a children's book, especially after writing Signs and Wonders, which is a nonfiction book. But I need to tell you the story of why I wrote it so that you'll understand, okay? So listen to this story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Punky. And Punky grew up in the Caribbean country named Jamaica. From very early, her grandmother instilled in her the importance to read and read so that she can become somebody. So from age 6, she was reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation and know all the Psalms them by heart. But it's only when she get bigger, she understand why she must read. She Black. And the only legitimate way, an accepted way for Black people to change and end generational poverty is to read and educate themselves. Awareness and wise mind. So when she get big, she understand that. So she grew up and having that self-identity, she married a Rasta man. And true to stereotype, Rasta have enough picnic. So she was mother to his and hers and them all. She enjoyed it, teaching them everything she knew of patois and the difference between minds and mine. But then life take over. And the children get big and them scattered all over the globe. And they have children. So her grandchildren are scattered too, all over the globe. Oh, how can I teach them? How can I teach my Black grandchildren confidence, the history, the culture, love for Jehovah Almighty God, when them is all over the place? Or recall, my son from another mother, married to Loretta and now live in Boston. Makeda and Maya live in London. Sienna, my daughter from another mother, live in North Carolina. Nasheen, my daughter from another mother, lives in Jamaica. And Omari also in Jamaica, Kingston. And my baby girl, Princess Jo, with her husband, Prince Karim, live all the way in Japan and preparing now to have Black Japanese baby. And me in Canada. Not to mention all the little cousins them are standby, who are going to teach them about the culture, who are going to teach them about English and to take pride in being multilingual. Lord have mercy. It just have to be taught that English and our patois are two separate languages. English is international, but it's not better than patois. So when them get big, they must understand and get confidence. So I was inspired to write and write about the culture, a mixture of legend, culture, and imagination. And so that's why I write Amelia Disappears. And when you look in page 17, where Miss Daly teach that domestic abuse is wrong, we want our children to understand that. And when we see Amelia, and this is the part I'm going to read for you because this is important, that Amelia, when they were calling her names, in looking at how her other cousins were not affected by the jeering and the name calling, was able to look at herself and said, I am not those names that they call me. I am Amelia, I'm pretty, and I am confident, and I am me. And so that's the end of my reading, if you don't mind. Amelia disappears.
Clapper, as Miss Lou would say, clapper, clapper. Yes, so a story in a story, story in story. So welcome to the now 59 of us who are gathered on this for this launch. So we're talking about Amelia Disappears in this segment, and you know we want to pause now just to lighten our mood and raise our spirits even higher. And so I'm really, really thrilled to call on Azuri Campbell. Azuri will perform. Azuri is a singer of great, great, great gift. Azuri.
To you, my heart cries out perfidia, for I found you the love of my life in somebody else's arms. Your eyes are echoing perfidia, forgetful of a promise of love to share in another's charm. With a sad lament, my dreams have faded like a broken melody, while the gods of love look down and laugh at what romantic fools we mortals be. And now I know my love was not for you, and so I take it back with a sigh, perfidious one, goodbye. With a sad lament, my dreams have faded like a broken melody, while the gods of love look down and laugh at what romantic fools we mortals be. And now I know my love was not for you, and so I take it back with a sigh, perfidious one, goodbye. Perfidious one, goodbye. Perfidious one, goodbye. Perfidious one, goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you, Azuri, as your song, but thank you so much. I think we all were singing along with you in our minds. And we appreciate your rendition. Give thanks until a little later on in the program when we will bring you back again. So now then, you know, Amelia Disappears, a children's book, means that we have in mind, and as you heard Angela say, she had in mind her own children and her grandchildren, and how it is through her writing, through the words on the pages, through the illustration, she might inspire them with a consciousness of who they are and of their own grand and tremendous value, beauty, and wonder. And we have with us this evening a practitioner of child development and of parent development to talk with us a little bit about how Amelia Disappears resonates with her and the work that she has been doing. Janet Brown is amongst the leaders of early childhood education in Jamaica and child development. She holds a master's in social work, and her professional career, as well as civil society work, her civil society activism and advocacy have all been focused on early childhood development and on parenting, beginning with or amongst the areas of impact that Janet has had as senior lecturer and then as director of the Caribbean Child Development Center at the university, where through her work with colleagues, Janet had an impact on not only early childhood development and the development of basic schools in Jamaica, but also the conversation about the role of fathers and the importance of fathers. Janet is also a founding and executive member of Parenting Partners of the Caribbean, and her work has seen her impacting early childhood development in countries as far afield as Oman and Kenya and Uganda and Brazil and Iran and Jordan. She's many times published and is telling me, all right, Carol, enough with introducing me, but can we welcome Janet Brown to share her thoughts with us, both as a practitioner of child development and as a grandmama herself.
I was saying, I think I have almost as many grandchildren as Punky, almost. I really must say thank you to the organizers for including me in this event. I am not a famous guest speaker. I am much more known for hiding behind and writing. So I will be reading my notes, and I've got them beside me, and so I hope that it's not distracting that I do that. I was also particularly delighted because when my children were young, we were in Toronto, and we would go to the library maybe twice a week and pick up 14 books at a time. And we were always reading books with them, and they were eventually reading on their own. And when I moved to Jamaica with my Jamaican husband in 1981, we went early to the Jamaica Library only to find that you could take only one book at a time. It was painful. So the cultural adjustment there was difficult, but eventually we found ways through sharing with other parents and all kinds of things so that we always had children's books available. So I really enjoyed this task, and I would just mention that because Carol has given this introduction, that since my retirement from UE and working with Parenting Partners Caribbean, we've been working most recently with helping strengthen the skills of community-based parenting group facilitators who will then deliver much needed support and education to parents and caregivers. So I feel that we're still at it. We still are trying to support the efforts of parents. Like Grandma Myrna in Amelia's story, parents and caregivers of children have the responsibility, I believe, and the opportunity for the passing on of the history, values, and culture that have shaped Jamaicans over the centuries. And I see the book Amelia Disappears in this light. It's a reminder of the rich tradition of storytelling and healing practices that came off the slave ships with the ancestors. How many children do you think within our current social, economic, and educational realities wish that they could disappear like Amelia wished that she could? Many children would like to be invisible rather than face bullying or abuse or the stigma of feeling different for whatever reasons from other children. Amelia and her cousins were singled out at school because their grandmother used historic remedies she believed would protect and strengthen them. Many children today suffer, like Amelia, from the jeers of classmates and neighbors who see them as different, maybe because they have a disability, or because they may have behavior issues, or because they're very poor, or for any number of other reasons. And these children often also feel like they would like to disappear, even for a while, from what feel like cruel and undeserved circumstances. I'm sure there will be many children reading or listening to the story of Amelia who would love to tiptoe invisibly around the obstacles in their lives to find a way to feel more comfortable and safe within their own story. But what about us? What about us as adults? Do we not often choose to pretend that we are not present, to tiptoe invisibly away when we witness injustice or harm being meted out to others? It's often easier to look away, to not see what we see, rather than to intervene and try to stop the hurt that we are witnessing. Let's look at Amelia's story again. Despite her invisibility, she found a way to intervene when she saw her friends suffering, watching their father hit their mother. She dared to call out domestic abuse as wrong, and she found a way to make it visible to others. She did not tiptoe away and pretend she didn't see. And her intervention produced in the story a publicly declared turnaround in the abuse that was harming her friend's family. So what is the message here for us? When we see abuse, exploitation, discrimination in our families, in our schools, in our communities, do we remain invisible and silent? Isn't there an old-time Jamaican saying, I hope I have this right, seeing blind, hearing deaf? Do I see a nod or two? Or do we try to show the courage of Amelia and find a way to make our concerns heard and seen where they can make a difference? I wish to celebrate Amelia's courage and also Angela's courage in tackling the issues she does in this new children's book. Young children see and are not blind. They hear and are not deaf. This book can remind the adults who care for them to make sure that what the children see and hear every day in their homes, schools, and neighborhoods make them feel safe, feel cherished, and able to love themselves as they are. At the end of the book, Amelia was happy when she again became visible. When you closed the book, you believed that Amelia would not want or need any more of Grandma Myrna's juice to handle her problems. As parenting partners in a recent training course for prospective trainers of parenting facilitators, several participants shared stories from their childhood during these Zoom sessions. Some are stories of abuse, others of neglect, still others of perseverance in the face of hardships and uphill battles. In our most recent session, just this last week, was on the impact of violence on children. And several participants confessed that they were having difficulty processing the discussion, even talking up in it, because of their own childhood traumas. One woman told us that she was 19 before her mother told her she loved her. In an earlier session, the same woman had said she had trouble showing affection to her own children. Such stories remind us how important it is for our own personal growth and mental health to make the invisible more visible, to bring old pain and confusion, old hurt and anger to the surface, where we can then address it as adults, often with the help from others, and then move on. Again, thank you, Angela, for not shying away from sharing painful issues with children in this book and with their parents who may read it to them. You may not be as visible in Jamaica anymore, but you certainly refuse to remain invisible here and abroad. And I wish you every success with this book, and I hope with succeeding stories of Amelia.
Thank you so much, Janet. Thank you for pointing us in so many directions of thought as we contemplate this children's story, the fact that it is a story that not only is intended to entertain, it's also a sobering story for the adults to think through who we are, how we are with children, so that in the case of Amelia, who drinks juice in order to disappear, we can perhaps make them feel so safe as to although disappearing into an imaginary world is something all
It's
children
wonderful too.
all
Yeah.
children do, and it's just wonderful. Well, thank you so much for those words, Janet. Folks, 58 strong. I know that you're perhaps saying, I want to talk to Angela. We are going to open the microphone a bit later on in the program, so don't worry. There will be a time for you to talk, to exchange comments and thoughts with our guest speakers as well as with Angela. So that we come to the end of segment one. Thank you, Janet, and everyone who participated in this segment as we officially launch Amelia Disappears to the Sound of Drums. sound of the drums, Joy Erskine Northover. For those of you who know Joy, Joy from way back, Joy from Sistering Theatre Collective days. And a colleague of ours, a sistering of ours. And so thank you, Joy Erskine, for that drum launch of Amelia Disappears. I am so thrilled now then as we come to the end of segment 1 to invite us to just celebrate Angela, the book, Amelia Disappears, and to introduce our royal sister, Elaine Wint, who will be your host for the second segment as we launch Signs and Wonders, Sojourn in the Inner City. And I just telling a little bit about Miss Elaine, you see, because, Elaine, everybody knows Elaine as an outstanding and pioneering broadcaster and communications professional. Elaine works magic as an executive coach, a business team trainer, and a personal development and transformation facilitator. She is a host like no other. And so I am really, really thrilled and honored to hand the baton over to my sister, Elaine Wint.
And I don't want you to disappear. I want you to stay right there.
I'm not disappearing.
My blessed, loving friend. And I just want to big up everybody. You know, Angela, from the program start, me a grin and me can't stop grin. My joys, I am just so full of joy. I can't begin to explain. But Carol, what I wanted us to do before I actually take over and begin the introduction to Signs and Wonders was to read some of the you and I alternately to just bring in some of the people in the chat, because some of the comments they're making, I don't know if Angela is seeing them.
No.
We would like to include them in the presentation. So Rosemary Gandley from Petersburg in Ontario, I hope I pronounced her name right. She says, hello everyone. Awesome stuff, Punky from Osali Levy. Congrats, Angela, on these 2 books. This is beautiful. Well done, Angela, says Yopoka. Hearty congratulations to you, Angela, on this initiative. May you and your team continue to be an inspiration to others. Charlton John. Nice seeing you again, cause of course the family is there. Marcia Hutchinson. And from Jamaica, my friend Patricia Donald. Big up Punky. May Gladbach boss and head swell big. Powerhouse woman and Bonononus Jamaican ambassador in a foreign land. Oh my. Please try to read some of the messages in the chat. So Ian, you see I'm doing it. Congratulations,
and so Shireen,
Angela. Yes.
Shireen McKenzie says, congrats, Punky. You're an inspiration. Keep up the great work, my sister. Hooper Brooks says, very special, really, really special. Myrna McKenzie, congratulations, Angela. Enough big up on this special moment. Blessings and success in this, your other career of storytelling. Beautiful and unique book launch, Punky, says Richard Jones. Every success, my friend. And Galaxy AO1, who is Galaxy? Hi, Nana. It's a grandchild. It's your granddaughter, Amelia. Yay. Hi, Amelia. And Marissa. Marissa says, beautiful evening, love the music and the children's reading. Thank you for inviting me, Angela. Wishing you continued success. And the comments continue.
Yes,
but back to you, Elaine.
Yes, thank you for joining me in that. I think it's just powerful. We are all excited. We're all inspired. We're cheering you on. And those of us who have hopes to do great things in the world, you are an inspiration, my darling. You are an inspiration. Have always been, but this evening we get to say it again. And in this book that you have penned, Signs and Wonders, what a tribute to just steadfastness and love, the power of Jah, the power of God, for those who call that great spirit. and for the native spirit, for people who say Great Spirit, you know, to acknowledge that source for the work that you have done, Angela. I am so inspired. This sojourn in the inner city that you have identified to have been something that has occurred as not just a travail, but a triumph in your life. And through that travail and triumph, you have birthed 10 powerful stories that share with us integrally, clinically, mystically, and powerfully what that experience was like for you as you worked at the Escorner Clinic in the inner city. It is really powerful. I'm really touched, moved, and inspired when you wrote, you know, about how it came about, and you highlighted in the epilogue those persons who have, through the connection with you and the persons at Escorner Clinic, have now moved out into the world and are doing great things. And then when you just so poignantly said, you know, that bit of writing you shared at the end that says, I'd like to sum up my work with a quote by an unknown author. Jah looked down at my work and smiled. And then he looked again at my paycheck and he cried. And so he sent me all of these wonderful blessings because, you know, God knows it is not by our will and it's not by our way or not by our work, but it's through the inspiration of the Most High. And so Signs and Wonders speaks to those inspirations, and it speaks to the way they manifested, not effortlessly or easily, but in pain, in anguish, but in power. And so as I congratulate you and thank you for the honor of hosting this section of your launch, Angela, and particularly because I do it together with my sister friend, Carol Narcisse, I would like to share the excerpt that for me was one of the most powerful in the book before our introduction of your dear friend and former chairman, Horace Levy. I really love Keisha and the Circle of Life and how you brought in that whole thing of, you know, people you help who come back in life to help you in a moment of great need. I loved, they called him Bogle, although I was tortured by it. And of course, his name was Sheldon. What a poignant, absolutely terrifying story. But the excerpt that I'm going to read as my contribution is from the section called Images of Righteousness, 1999. And I chose this because it comes before the introduction to Horace, but also because I think we are in that place of struggling with war and peace, you know, gunman and thief. And my concern in it all is that we choose to forget that these are our sons. They're not foreign people. They're not people who just get up and take up the gun, you know. There are children we birthed, and somehow this is how their life is occurring, and it occurs for us too. And so this excerpt that says, the residents recounted that at about 12 noon on Saturday, they saw Shabo, white handkerchief tied on his head, no shirt on, and with hands held high in the air, he walked down the road in the direction of the rival gang to meet with a man. The gang soldiers saw him and aimed, but a man shouted, "No man fire a shot," and stopped everyone in their tracks. The resident said a man laughed loudly in disbelief and amazement and said to Shaba, "Man, you're brave no rascal, you know." Shaba kept his hands up when the men fist bumped and did a man bounce on each other's shoulder. The soldiers looked upon in bewilderment, amazement, and nervousness, not sure what to do, as the two dons talked. And then Shaba and a man spoke. "War done, man. and man are gonna live in peace. I can now understand the Monday morning's fever of excitement, says the author. It is contagious, and I have caught a full dose. But more than anything, I need to hear from Shaba himself what had influenced him to make such a daring move that could have cost him his life. I need to also hear from a man in his own words why he had stopped the men from shooting and killing having their fantasy of killing Shaba. Shaba explains, Miss Angie, when I see you and the staff drive off, cutting short your work to help the people, so we could have killed each other, I said, no, sir, no, Lord. Then I see Bowler bring me something in his hand and tell me the clinic plan to close for good. I feel bad. Then I look and I see that is your chain, your cross. I can't tell you the feeling that come over me. I had to go sit down and couldn't move. So I just put out more soldier to watch, but I call off the mission to attack. I tell them, make we wait for them to come up. We now go down. The next morning, I take up the chain and I take up the gun. Miss Angie, me have me Johnny over 3 years now. Me know how it feel. That day, it was so heavy. Me couldn't lift it up, much less to fire. So I put it down and I keep trying. But I notice as long as I have the chain in my left hand, the gun in my right feel well heavy. So I put the chain on one side and take up the gun, and everything was good again. By this time, I feel to test the chain further. So I put it on my neck, and Miss Angie, I could not lift the gun. So I know when what I had to do. I had to be one or the other. Somehow, me know say once me have on my chain, them can't do me nothing either. I just feel like I am protected by the Most High God. God. So I surrender. No more war. Peace. A God me say. Them say Jesus forgive 70 times 7. Me is not Jesus, but we can learn. Well, yeah. Talk about touched, moved, and inspired. Written so powerfully, but just telling the clear issue and sharing such a powerful moment. And right there, Sir Angie, that's where I think we need to bring in Horace Levy, because he was central in that space. I hand over to you to introduce him to us.
Wow. That reading sent me back in time in those moments and memories, you know, but through the powers of the Most High, and you know, we did it. The commitment to changing lives and knowing that we can do it with prayer and the support and willingness from the people who we want to change. Mm-hmm. And Horace Levy,
by now, Horace must be in great shock as to what are they calling my name for? Yes. What they're calling my name for?
Yes.
And so, yeah, this is a moment for Angela and all of us to turn thanks, as we say in Jamaica, yes, to Horace Levy, forerunner, exemplar, and mentor to Angela and to so many of us in community development. And so this is a pause, Horace, for us to do just that. Angela.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. Is a Horace?
Hello, Angie. Punky.
Hey,
Hi.
Let me honor you. Long time no see. Let me honor you, Horace, my mentor. Throughout Jamaica, this great person that you see here, Horace Levy, lecturer at the University of the West Indies, founder of PMI Peace Management Initiative, social development action worker from over 40 years, has dedicated his life, anthropologist, his life in just giving. And he's known throughout Jamaica, an author of many books as well, I must say, well known. But I want to talk about the person that I met 30 something years ago. No matter try to calculate the age. No matter with it, just ask, yeah? So I met Horace over 30 years ago when I started at Escana. And Horace was the board chairperson. And as Carol talked earlier, in many of those peace initiatives, Horace, as the board director, have walked with us. I remember walking with Horace on a peacemaking, bringing the gangs together, and we were using our bodies as human shield. Because one of the gang members said, I don't want to die barefoot. Let me even put on a shoes to walk down the road to meet the other gang. And those were touching moments. And Horace and I and other team members of the Escana community, Marlene Campbell, who is now deceased, we walked down and using our body as human shields because we knew that the rival gangs would not shoot at us, would not shoot at the persons who were behind us because they respected Horace and me so much. So Horace, I owe Horace so much, but I want to talk about Horace as my mentor, as the person who has guided my career and a lot of time confidence when I didn't have it. I wasn't always this person that could talk in front of a crowd without real nervousness. And I remember years ago when I couldn't do it, and I was asked to do a speech in the UK, and I was going to talk about the impact of IMF structural adjustment policies on third world countries and the devastating impact that it had throughout, because they're giving us the same remedy of producing and foregoing our social services, which led to the deterioration and more poverty. So I was to talk about that. And I was to talk about it in front of doctors and professors and rich people, and nerves nearly killed me. Nerves overwhelmed me. I couldn't deal with it. And I said, Horace, no, we can't do it. We can't do it. And Horace said, okay, listen to me. Forget about all of these class issues that separate people and education and Black. We're all humans. When you stand up in front of them, just look at them. Find a face that you connect with. And all of them in the audience, remember they're all humans. And them go toilet like we, and them sit on the toilet seat naked. So just look at them and find a face that you connect with and see that person in the toilet and just talk. And it has worked. I can look at you all and imagine that you're all humbly sitting on your throne and we're all humans. And that has given me the confidence to just talk. So Horace has guided me throughout, and here I am now launching a book. And I'm not nervous, Horace. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So now I turn it over. I'm honoring Horace Levy. And in honoring Horace, I would like for Jenny Jones, his wife, to do something on my behalf. Jenny, over to you.
And Angela, just remember, everything has had to be hidden. So
Yes.
I'm not in the same room with
All
Horace.
right. While Jenny is going for the hidden something,
Carry something
go on, talk.
extremely heavy.
This is crazy. You're the one to be honored, not me. Believe you me.
No,
My whole
I could
time,
not do this without you, Horace.
my
couldn't
whole
do it without
time
you.
down there was a learning process, learning, watching and learning. Angela did so much to inspire her co-workers and to move them and to get them to cooperate and to make their input. She was a marvel, and I really respected her all the way. You know, coming down there in spite of the violence, walking through the community. I mean, some amazing experiences. I don't remember that the quality of my advice for talking, some of that, but anyway, you say so. So through all the ups and downs, with all the little bit I brought from, oh my Lord, all the little bit I brought from academia, I got so much more from the inner city and from Escona and from Angela. Well,
So Horace, you have to stand up.
I can't stand, you know.
And from Punky. Punky, you want me to give him a little hug on your behalf?
I'm sure
Thank
the
you so much,
basket.
Punky.
I have
Thank
to
you
tell
so
him,
much.
Punky, that only the fruits that he likes and can eat are in there.
Lord.
So, and of course, the bottle of wine.
Well, thank you so much.
Your favorite wine, Horace.
I'm so undeserving. I'm going to taste that wine very soon. Don't worry. I love wine. Well, thank you, Punky. And really, honestly, I learned so much. And it was such an experience to go through, because it was a learning experience for all of us. And the ideas you came with, for example, those special toilet units to make up for the lack of water, which were built, right? Which made life so much easier for those residents in the inner city, in your area, Escona. The bringing the artists down for that special night, right? Which was a fantastic success. I mean, all these ideas came from you, and you know, you deserve to be given the credit for them, and to be hailed for them, and to be recognized. And I'm so happy for you here this evening that you're getting some of that. You deserve it, every bit of it. And I only hope that you will continue to write and to publish, because you're shown tremendous capability, which I never suspected at the time, in terms of the quality of your writing. Really good quality writing, Angela. And when I complimented you in the introduction or the preface, I really meant every word of it. And I couldn't say half of what I really meant. So Godspeed. God be with you. Yahweh be with you. Yah be with you. Love you, Angela, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Horace. We love you too. We all do. And thank you, Angela. Horace Levy, forerunner, exemplar, and mentor in community development. We know him just as a powerful human being who has shone his light. And that light has helped us see a clearer way in Jamaica. Thank you, Horace. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We continue with another excerpt from this book, Signs and Wonders. And it's now my pleasure to introduce our social worker from Zimbabwe. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you. And hi, everyone. My name is Catherine, and it is a great honor for me to be here this evening. And I work with Angela, and what I can say is Angela is a very powerful, very hardworking, and very intelligent woman. And so it's a great honor for me. And why I'll read from Shine and Shan. And why I'm reading this part and I like this part is because it is about inspiring and giving confidence to young children because it shapes their thinking and their way of life in the latter years. You know, like a plant, it has to be watered, it has to be put fertilizer, and that's how fragile the self-worth and self-confidence of children is. So I'm going to read. Thank you so much. So Shine and Shan. She walked with her head bent to the ground, shoulders hunched over, appearing to be looking for something lost, and so small it required her intent gaze. Occasionally, she kicked at orange juice boxes and plastic bottles as if they somehow blocked her path. The knapsack on her back protruded outward, forcing her to hunch over even further. In the opposite direction, Miss Peggy passed her by and the child looked up to mumble something. We noticed she acted the same way with all adults who passed her, but our distance away made it impossible to hear. We speculated it was the customary greetings, recognitions of a presence sharing the same space for a brief moment in time. The acknowledgement is cultural and an important indicator of respect, especially for children in social interaction with their elders. Many Jamaicans have publicly expressed the concern that the culture of acknowledging persons is a dying practice, especially in urban communities. The practice or lack of it is viewed as an outcome of good or bad parenting. The residents reason, picnic must have manners. They must say good morning, good evening, please, and thank you to everybody. Manners carry you a long way through the world. That's how children in Africa too are told. Thank you, excuse me, please, yeah. So we watch her from the top floor of the office. Her demeanor contrasted with the happy child prancing recently in our office. Only 2 weeks before, Said and her mother, Miss Pata, had stopped at the office to show off her new uniform on her first day at a new school. Said a wide-eyed, dark-skinned child rushed in ahead of her mother, threw her school bag on the nearest chair, and did a 360-degree twirl for us. She continued with her twirl, bouncing into the staff members and prompting her mother's command for her to stop and be still. All right now, said, stop, we see the uniform, she said. Sad, like all of us in the room, knew the request was not serious, just a contained effort from her mother to mask her own feelings of pride and joy and to impress us with her parental skill to restrain an overly excited child. Sensing that, the usually obedient child twirled and twirled again in a happy dance. The excitement was contagious, and laughing, a staff member grabbed Said as she twirled within her reach. Is it 3 minutes or I should continue? Okay. In the first, it was the first day of class for Said at a new school. Many children envied and aspired to attend. The teachers worked assiduously to enable their students to achieve the required 100% grade for acceptance in such a school. Based on the Ministry of Education's classifications, the school was in the Tier 2 category nationally. It was a dream come true for any student to earn a place there, and Said was the first child of the community to break that glass ceiling. Okay. The majority of our Kingston 13 children attend one of the 3 primary schools located within this geographic area. At age 12, the children transitioned to the 2 community-based high schools. These high schools are in the lowest assigned rank of the ministry. The local primary and high schools are generally overpopulated with an average of 40 children squeezed in what looks to be little more than a 10-foot by 10-foot classroom. The schools are ill-equipped, one black chalkboard nailed to the wall, and a teacher using a chalk to highlight main points of instruction. Being mindful that the students at the back of the room are unable to hear us, The teachers shout across the room. Many of the students do not have breakfast and anxiously wait the bell signaling the lunch break and the state-provided milk and sweet cake known as bula.
Right, lovely. Yes.
Very inspiring stories, yeah.
Yes, yes, we can actually feel ourselves in the space observing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that
Thank you.
excerpt for us. And so we move next to Angela's grandson as we continue to include the children, her legacy. Zion Wright is a grandson from the United Kingdom, and we're especially pleased to have him read for us this evening. Zion?
Colorism was also played out in the schools by the teachers themselves. Lighter complexioned and mixed race children were the teachers' pets and were elevated to class monitors and prefects. The student population referred to the teachers' pets as pretty duns. But why pretty? Their peers, the underachieving dark-skinned ones, were simply dunce-bats. I remember being in 3rd grade in Miss Jerry's class. On her desk was a big, bright red truck and a white doll with blue eyes, along with miniature versions of both. These were motivational rewards for the students, male and female, with the highest grade average. At the end of the term, I received a small doll, yet I was the female student with the highest grade. My runner-up was a girl of mixed race. She received a larger doll. I felt hurt and told my grandmother. I never played with dolls and had no interest in the doll. But what mattered was that I was seated out of a prize I had worked hard for because of my complexion.
What a beautiful song. We thank Zion Wright, grandson of Punky, who were sharing an excerpt there all the way from in the United Kingdom. Before I invite author Angela Stultz to do her own reading, I'd like once again to acknowledge persons who have joined us, who are not visible. So we want to acknowledge here, congratulations, Lady Angel, greetings and love from your New Dawn family. Signs and Wonders is an amazing book which everyone should read to get a true insight into life for the neglected and disrespected people of the inner city. Amelia Disappears is a brilliant story, expertly written, and that's from Jennifer Jones, who we just saw supporting Horace. Congratulations to my former neighbor and walking partner. Thanks, Angela, for introducing me to Mountain Spring, continuing my journey. You are life given all round. Now giving life through new books, and that was Pat. So as we continue, we look forward to your selected reading, Angela.
Thank you, Elaine. Woo! Thanks everybody. It's my heart. I'm going to read Woman Power, because Woman Power is a story that happened in 1995 and tells the tale of one woman's resilience and determination to prove her life in the face of domestic abuse. It relates our organization, Escona Clinic and Community Development Organization, mobilized the community to support one of their own. And it explores the alliances that women forge and what can be achieved when women support each other. Woman Power, 1995. It is National Labor Day in Jamaica, a day when people come together to give voluntary labor for causes they strongly support. Under the organization's stewardess, the CDC, Community Development Council, decided on the Labor Day project, the purpose, and the beneficiary. News of the project beneficiary traveled throughout the grapevine. It traveled throughout the neighborhood grapevine. The project construction of a one-bedroom, self-contained home for Marcia. That's what we set out to do for that Labor Day. Marcia was 23 years old. She was the mother of 4 children, and unfortunately had become a victim of severe domestic abuse. Our organization came to know her through her attendance at the health clinic. She was a regular at the health center, and her visits alternating between the family planning clinic for contraceptives, the prenatal clinic when the contraceptives failed, and the administration office to see me for one-on-one domestic counseling. Marcia exhibited the telltale signs of domestic abuse: unexplained swollen face and body parts, and their nervous, inconsistent responses when questioned. The clinic referred Marcia to our domestic abuse program, which, like many other abused women, she never attended. The woman would opted instead for one-on-one session. It's page 9 story, okay? And as such, I became her confidant. Marcia confided her fear of Joe, her common law husband, who was now an infamous gangster, and she feared for her life should she leave him. He had a quick temper, which was exaggerated whenever he was broke. She suspected he was cheating, and the arguments escalated into physical fights. One of those fights resulted in her being hospitalized for almost a week with fractured ribs and bruises. She wished desperately to leave him, but where would she go? Over and over, her questions spill out. Would the section of the community that she had fled from 8 years ago accept her to return to that section? Could she still be a target, even though she had left Joe? Moreover, how would she support herself and her 4 children? She had dropped out of school because of pregnancy, had no skills by which to earn, and depended totally on Joe for financial support. How would she manage without Joe's support? So the organization, this is what we did. Marcia was among 23 other women who completed the training and construction courses and did a construction project that Horace talked about in building ventilated, improved pit toilets in the community. The community had very limited amount of toilets and people had to share. And so this was a way of addressing health problems, skills problem, economic problem, and so much more. So based on the unique construction and qualities of these toilets that had 2 sides with alternating uses, the black pipes would be inserted 6 feet in the ground and facilitated an environmental process to transform it into manure. And this was designed in Uganda and approved by the World Health Organization. And my organization, ESCONA, was the first to implement it in Jamaica in communities that had no water. So here we are teaching women to do it because we recognize that if women had a skill and could earn and be better able to prepare for their family, it would give them the kind of independence they need and not be dependent on male and not accepting of domestic abuse which had become normalized. So over an 18-month period, these women and male had built over 109 ventilated pit toilets throughout the community. So this is Labor Day now. At daybreak on Labor Day, the yard was busy. Construction materials were neatly stacked according to areas of work, and people walked around in search of something to do. Time was of essence, and accidents could not be afforded. To ensure this, the community had carried out the traditional ritual of killing a rooster and sprinkling its blood and white rum to enhance the safety and well-being of the family who would live in this new house and ward off all negative energies or evil spirit. So everybody was working in the entire community. And by nightfall, the work team is triumphant, although weary. Self-taught home decorators show off their skills and move furniture inside and around the home until they receive the onlookers' grunts of approval. Neighbors bring lamps filled with kerosene oil and proudly place them on the middle of the table. The lamps glow as we pray to God to bless the home of Marcia. We thanked him for providing good weather in which to work and for all who have come out to make the day possible. We glorified God's wonder and grace, and I silently thanked him for choosing me to lead the organization to carry out this work, empowering women and families for personal, community development and transformation. Except for the painting and clearing up of waste materials thrown on the ground, Marcia's home is now fully constructed. Marlene was basking in the day's achievement and was already organizing for tomorrow's workday, including skilled volunteers and cleanup crew. Everyone felt proud. The true spirit of love, support, and sharing. The community through sometimes growing in true spirit of love, support, and sharing. The community, although sometimes torn apart by gang violence, came together to support one of their own. Some of the women who came out were themselves victims of domestic abuse, but didn't yet have the strength to leave their own situations. They were happy for Marcia and took part to facilitate a sister's process for a fresh start, a new beginning. Marcia, once badly abused, had defied the odds, leaving her abuser, acquiring a skill, and becoming, among others, one of the best construction workers. Marcia, the prodigal child, had returned home. And I want to, that's where the story ends in the book. But I want to tell you that Marcia is now a licensed construction worker, and she gets projects to do as a female, leading to the construction of houses and whatever it is that they're building. A woman truly empowered. We salute her. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angela, for reading that and for helping us to further appreciate, how simple changes can bring about ongoing development. Absolutely inspiring. Thank you so much for Marcia's story. So now it's time for us to hear from our guest speaker for this portion of the program and the declaration of the launch of Signs and Wonders. And for that purpose, we are now turning to Dr. Herbert Gale, who is an anthropologist of social violence, senior lecturer, sociology and social work department at the University of the West Indies. had the pleasure to introduce Dr. Gale before, and it's a pleasure again this evening. Herbert Samuel Gale, PhD London, MSc BA UWI, is a senior lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona, trained in social anthropology. He specializes in social violence, gangs, murder, suicide, repeat killers, and domestic violence. Dr. Gale has over 2 decades of experience living with and studying youth gangs and transnational criminal organizations in the Caribbean, Central America, USA, and Europe, and has impacted policies in 3 Caribbean, Central American, impacted policies in 3 Caribbean states to reduce social violence. He has been interviewed by many international media houses globally, including the BBC and the Associated Press, who seek to understand about this violence globally. Dr. Gale is also a methods expert, trained at the advanced level in all 4 approaches of qualitative, quantitative, mixed, and participatory and action research, the PAR. As a violence expert and youth advocate, he has done public lectures, motivational presentations, workshops, and seminars in over 60 countries. We are extremely proud to have him here this evening participating in this launch for Angela Stultz's book, Signs and Wonders. He is also the chairman of Fathers Incorporated and Children First Agency, and dedicates much of his life to serving Jamaica and the Caribbean region. Dr. Gale, a pleasure. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Let me just begin by saying, Punky, big up yourself.
Big up, Herbert.
Let me paraphrase that for those who don't understand. I'm just saying congratulations. Boy, I had 4 presentations today, and when I was asked, I said I looked at my phone that organizes my presentations. I go, no, Punky come first. And I won't say I know Punky 30 years ago. It's just a little shy of 30 years. That means I'm young. I will leave the over 30 years for Horace. Congrats, Horace. All right. But as I took this book and I started reading, a lot hit me. And I decided to put a few slides together, which I'm going to ask you to allow me to share, host, very quickly, to just give viewers a working idea of the environment that Punky worked in. And as I looked at the chapters, they told a theoretical and philosophical story and a framework that many may have missed. Papa, who made me? I'm gonna show you some data on fathering very quickly. That address where you live, woman power, that held me for quite a while. Mama cry, and as I look back at all the different mothers, 136 mothers I have worked with that have documented, and we're gonna be sharing with the public one day. A boy called Bogle, I'm coming back to that. Keisha and the Circle of Life, images of righteousness. You know, his name is Sheldon, Shine and Shun. And I want to share, allow me to share a little bit as I share with you just some ideas of the context of what Punky worked in at Escarna. So I've dedicated my little PowerPoint saying Signs and Wonders, Punky's journey from Escarna to the world. I borrow that from whoever coined it. So this is Jamaica, the 4th most violent country in the world since the year 2000, located in the LAC, which accounts for 9.4% of the world in population, but 39.85% of murders. In other words, we are the most violent place in the world. Jamaica is located in this area. And if you look, these are homicide rates. The group of people that Punky has spent a lot of time with they have a homicide rate on average of 113 per 100,000, those between the age of 15 and 34, which the WHO describe as youth and extended youth. And if you look carefully, you will see they account for 50% of victims of homicide and 48%, that specific group, sorry, and 58% of perpetrators. If you look carefully, Kingston and St. James are the two most violent areas in the country. And of course, Punky worked in Kingston for decades. And that purple line is drawn because it is 205 per 100,000, which is the US-led invasion of Iraq, body count per 100,000. And if you notice, you will see that there are areas where the homicide rate exceeds 414, which is twice the death toll of Iraq. And in the case here, this is for all males, and this is for males of the combatant age, 15 to 34. And this is one of the areas, these are the people that Punky would have spent so much of her life in. Then Jamaica has two gang hubs. The big one, of course, starts in Kingston right here, spreads to St. Andrew, to St. Catherine, to Clarendon. And then those of you who are aware, there was two formal attempts to bring in Manchester into the fray. And of course, you know Montego Bay, all right, which is here, with Westmoreland II, followed by Hanover, then Trelawney, and of course, they've begun to take bits of St. Elizabeth. Now, if you look at that, that's the environment. Unlike these are the three areas I spend the most of my life working in violence. And you will notice that Belize, under COVID, with the trigger of COVID, has had a 38% reduction in murders. Trinidad, 26%, but Jamaica, boop, absolutely nothing, 2%. And so the problems are really, really, really severe here. So I've broken young people that you meet in a city into 5 groups. And these 5 groups are based on something called ontological security, which is the idea that there are 4 things young people need in order for them to feel stable. And at SOAS London, we covered 117 countries in which we learned from young people what are the basic things you needed. And we're going to come back to that very quickly. So breaking them down into shutters, those are people or young people who've killed more than once. All right. Then we have high violence, or high risk, killing once. Medium, stab or shoot but not kill. Low violence, absorb a lot of indirect and direct violence but not are transferred to others. And shielded would be like the young people like myself, and of course, a boy called Bogle that we're going to talk about a little bit. And then what have we discovered? When you take the 4 blocks, let's take those 4 blocks. Food. Every young person across the 117 countries we worked with at SOAS said they needed food, followed by parents. And of course, we come back to Papa Who Made Me and Mama Cry. Followed by, of course, an environment of care, okay, which a lot of kids don't have. And of course, followed by opportunity structures, which we call in Jamaica, education and training. Now, when we look at all of those, right, we start with chronic hunger. We found that the kids who were killing repeatedly, 52% of them would have suffered from chronic hunger, compared to 43% of those that were high violence, compared to 25%, 21%. And look at the shielded. People like me who grew up in Savile Lamar, right, grew up in violence, but shielded. And then let's look at those who are carrying their families alone. Almost the same thing. These are kids, right? Boys or girls. Oh, by the way, we do have a few female shutters. This is not as gender specific as you think. And look at what we found. The very same picture. The more pressure is put on them, the more violent they become. The more they were not given a chance to feel a sense of future or ontological security, the more violent they would be. So if you look at parenting very quickly, you'll see the national figures for Jamaica. 42% of our homes have a biological father, 82% of our homes have a mother. Look at the inner city where Punky worked for all these decades. The 42% national figures for inner city just dropped, boom, to 50%, 21%. Look at mothers, As powerful as you and as present as mothers were, drops down to 43% with grandmas and other people filling in. Look at inner city killers. They've dropped further for both male and female as they kill. And then look at the ratings. You'll see the boys are overwhelmingly connected to their mothers. 70% of them says, I can call on my mother, compared to 36% of them with their fathers. And then the ones who kill can't call on anybody, right? Let's go on to the comparison between a child who was high risk and one that was shielded like Herbs, who grew up in Guncourt Lawn, in Savlamar, with everybody looking out for me, yeah? Right. So let's look at the crime family. They're members of a crime family. They're 17.3 times more likely to come from a crime family, which means generations of suffering, victimization, and perpetration, right? And you heard Punky talk about the torture within homes and IPV. They're 5.4 times more likely to become a killer if they're from a family where torture is normal. And 3.6 times if they're desperate and hungry, and 3.1 times if they see their mothers and fathers fighting, right? And 2.7 times more likely if they dropped out of school, and 2.5 times more likely to be involved or to be high risk if you drop the economic burden on them from before the age of 16. Now, what we found out was that, hey, if you take a baseline, and you see, when you talk about a boy called Bogle, and you talk about the different parts of this book, right? You're going to understand what all of this is saying. Yeah, if we take boys who drop out at grade 9, or even the 64 women in my data set who've killed people, who half of them being contract killers, you'd be shocked to know, right? You're going to find this very same thing. If you take grade 9 as the baseline, what have we found? If families love their children so much that they ensure that they finish school and do 3 CXCs, they will be 4 times less likely to be high risk. If the community and the government and the people and everybody love them so much, and they have parents and neighbors and punkies to be able to complete CAPE, they'll be 10 times safer. And oh my God, OMG to the square. If they ever go to college or university, they'll be 85 times safer than if they're dropped out of school. These are the things that motivated Punky to stay in the trenches. And this is why today I want to use this moment to honor her. Look at the ontological security. Kids who express that they are not socially suicided. Notice the term. When we ask them, can you tell us what happens in the next 5 years? 77% of the kids who were shielded had a working idea of tomorrow. 69% of those that were low had a working idea of tomorrow and a sense of ontological security, a sense of future. 53%, 28%, and only less than a quarter of shutters had any idea about tomorrow morning. They considered themselves, the other 76% considered themselves walking dead. Let me stop sharing. Let me get to the core of why Punky is so important to me and why I have already put in my course for this semester in the master's program of urban anthropology for 2 of the students to critique, to evaluate your book as their final assignment, Punky. Let me tell you why. 2018, I met a youngish man. He's in his 40s now. And he happens to be number 71 in my data set of 214 young people who've killed repeatedly. We call them shutters. 98 are still alive. And number 71 said to me, wow, pretty Rasta woman. And I began to think, pretty Rasta woman. So it's beginning to churn in my head. I met her in a place called Escana. In fact, no, Rasta. We meet her in a place called London. No, not London. Punky knows there's another different London, which is just around the corner from Escana. And one day she see me and she said, yo, dog, why you walk with your gun and bulge up on your side, so? It's almost like you use it to look vagina. And him said, Lord, no, baby, no, me not do that. I've just my shirt pull up, man. And him said, boy, Dr. Herbs, you know what hit me? She never tell me something if I get rid of my gun or whatever. And the first thing she said is conceal the gun because we know why they come no example for you look up at them. And Herbs, I last time, the morning that me kill somebody that I last person me kill. That young man killed 7 people during his lifetime. Today, he is a farmer thanks to Punky. This is what happens in the trench. And Punky, we have to tell you, not when you get old and we come to graveside, those of us who are privileged, and start to say all kinds of stuff. We have to tell it from now. Folk, I want you to everybody pass on the message to everybody to get a copy of this book. My students will be getting some. They'll be doing it as a formal project. This is the core of urban anthropology, the core of urban ethnography, the core of Black people. Let me say it without any reserve, remembering that they're Black and the transitions we've made from being ruled to self-rule. God bless you. Take care of yourself, Punky, and we declare this book launched.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Herbert Gale.
Wow.
We are beyond touch, moved, and inspired. Angela, I know you have something to say. Yes. Reality. Reality. So when you come face to face and someone can look at us in your presence and show us and tell us what your effort did in terms of making a difference and the potential each one of us here working together this evening to launch these 2 books, but also those persons who are looking on. It is absolutely powerful for us to remember that each one of us has this power to ignite others, to transform others, to liberate others, to emancipate, but it begins with ourselves. And Punky, we have seen your emancipation and how you have used it in the liberation of others and the testimony through this book. And so as Professor Herbert Gale has declared this book launch, all of us on this session tonight can say loudly, amen. But more importantly, we want to use it as our own personal inspiration and liberation to action, because I think one of the things that is harassing us now in Jamaica is the trauma that we experience that keeps us still poisoned, unprepared, stagnant, and not knowing what or how to do or thinking that we don't. So I want to thank Professor Herbert Gale for helping us to stimulate some of our minds this evening with some of that data as to the urgency of the situation that you have worked in and the reason for your writing this book, not just to share, but to also transform the situations that you have highlighted. So we want to invite everyone who is listening, watching, participating to participate now in a short conversation together. If there is anything that you would particularly want to share or say as part of your own personal inspiration in our time together this evening. Punky, is there anything that has come for that you want to put out there to invite others, perhaps your own? The book challenges us, but in this moment of the declaration of the launch, is there a request you have?
We've heard from Herbert the chances, and the chances are so linked with access to resources, which our people are denied, which inner city people are not given the same opportunity to reach and change their destiny, you know? And Herbert, you know, I'm just really, you know, because you're taking me back there. And I need for us to continue the work that we do and not give up, the work in community transformation, the work to advocate for justice against policies that keep Black people at the lower end of the societal ladder, not giving them the resources for education, for grants to improve themselves, housing, that house can be used as equity for education, the collateral that they need for transformation, and the importance of us continuing with the work. So I applaud everyone who came out today on this journey with me. And I give thanks and I honor. I know that you are all honoring me, but I know that Jehovah Almighty is here within this space and time to bring all these energies together, because this is not preaching to everybody here. It's not preaching to the disciples, but others are listening. And we want to just continue and to inspire. And to the youth them who have made great strides and come out, because the stories of triumph are many, just as the despairs. The ones who have made it and the ones who continue to make it, and the parents who continue to be a part of their children's life. The work continue. And we must continue to write and push down reading to them throat in whatever means. People use up the social media because them read them text and they read that. The work of education must continue. I salute and love you all. God bless.
Elaine. Thank you so much.
I'd like to say something.
1 second. Yes,
Yeah,
go
I'd like to
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
something.
Go ahead.
Punky, remember years ago when I met you, right? I met you in Boston, beautiful, gorgeous, sexy. I knew who you really are when I went to Jamaica and I went to work with you. And I saw what you were faced with, that sometime you had to duck under your deck from gunshot. I said, wow, this is where you work? And I said, wow, this woman is amazing. She risks her life every day. And I will never forget the day when you brought together Tony Rebel, Luciano, Queen Africa together to try to solve some problems that was in the garrison. Those days live with me for the rest of my life. And I tell you, sister, I tell you, I am speechless. I am so proud of you, because I never grew up in Kingston. I grew up in Boston, but you exposed me to a part of Jamaica that I needed to know about. Right. And with that said, as we both grow in our career and in our businesses, we must continue to uplift each other, especially the Black race, because we are at the bottom. So big respect to you, enough love, enough protection, and enough love and protection to your entire audience. Ashe.
Thank you so much, Empress Imani. Someone was calling my name earlier. I'm not sure who was trying to get my attention.
It was me, Elaine, Jenny.
Please go on, Jenny.
No, it's a simple question. It's just that we know we can get the books on Amazon, but can we get them in Jamaica? Because somebody asked that question. It's a very important question, because they're such important books and Christmas is coming. So is there any way we can get them in Jamaica, Punky?
Apart from Amazon, I think I have to depend on persons going down. I know somebody's going down in October, so I'll send down like about 20 books to you, Jenny. But in October, next month, yeah.
But
it can be ordered on Amazon, yeah.
You need a bookshop. You need bookshops. You need them to be in bookshops. That's the problem.
Jamaica, yes.
Yeah.
Because they're here in bookshops in Canada, but we need them in bookshops in Jamaica.
Definitely.
Yeah, the thing is,
the university bookstore should have them, for instance.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Right.
Well, clearly what we will need to do is to have someone organized to do, to
Yes.
facilitate a little distribution between now and the end of the year.
Yes.
So that we ensure that the book is prominently displayed. So I'm sure between Dr. Gail, Carol, myself, Jenny, and Janet, we
Yes.
could mobilize that, Angela. So that's work to be done. Carol, I see your hand as had been said, and then Janet following.
yes, and just wanted to just reiterate, Angela, that Amazon is great, but you know, a lot of our people are not able to trade online. So,
Yeah.
but we'll do what we must. I wanted to just say that part of the gift that Angela has had, and which is captured in the book, gift as a community development practitioner, a community transformation practitioner. Part of the gift that Angela has had is having the idea for very simple, really simple strategies that don't cost a lot of money, that have huge impact. And I'll just give you one example: the Kite Festival. Angela organized a kite festival at Escona. Now, if you know, Escona is on St. Joseph Road, which is off of Waltham Park Road. At the bottom of St. Joseph Road, it goes all the way back to Spanish Town Road. So it runs from Waltham Park and back to Spanish Town Road. And at the end of St. Joseph Road and the road going across to Spanish Town, there was an open lot that had nothing on it. The young men from the top of the road were at perpetual war with the young men at the bottom of the road, two different sets of gangs. Angela's office sits in the middle, in between the gunshots, as our sister Empress shared. But each side would call her and say, Sister Angela, you need to go home. Close the office and go home. If something was going to happen. But one of the things that Angela used as a conflict reduction and relationship building strategy was with the young men from both sides, up the top of the road, down the bottom of the road, and her staff organized a kite making and kite flying festival. It was the most wonderful process because the older men, and when I say older now, I talk early 20s and 30s, the older men taught the youngsters how to make kites, and you would see them on the corner showing each other how to make a kite. People were making kites of different size and look, and to compete with who up the road, because them now make the kite bigger and are better than our kite. And so these were young men who otherwise were engaging in extortion, in all sorts of, gun running, etc., robbery, you name it. Went back to their childhood in a way that was just a joy to behold. And on the day, men who, say a day, them can't come out a day too tough, because some of them wanted, others of them we had never seen before. Men and women from every corner, children, elders from every corner of the community came to this open lot. And it was the most wonderful exhibition of kites of all sorts, and of men who had been shooting at each other just a few weeks before, engaging in banter and, just fun, just unadulterated, pure fun. And that led to lots of other joint actions between both sides. And that peace held for a couple of years. Well, it started with kite flying.
Amazing stories. And what I hear is just the simplicity of human being and the simple things that it takes to cause our beingness to connect to our spirit and recognize that we are one. I hear it in Professor Gale's presentation, you know, when I listened, and some of the simple things that would stop. And we're saying then, let me take responsibility. I think this evening, my question leaving this Punky is, who is invested in our crime? Who is benefiting from our crime, such that the simple things that it would take to stop it that are doable, listed by Carol, listed by yourself, listed by Professor Gill, become not doable? Because unless there is clear benefit from powerful people, it cannot be continuing. It could not be allowed to continue. And I think there is where some address, you know, needs to be made. When I look at Professor Gale's statistics, it is shameful. You know, simple things. Why do we find them a problem? Why do we want to put this data of the crime numbers, but no solutions? Who is it benefiting for it to be like that? That's what I need to ask. And I am going to be asking that very loudly of myself and of everybody who I think I can get an answer from. Because I'm naive. Let me be very clear. I'm naive. So Janet, did you want to say something? I thought, oh, Pat, so sorry.
It was Pat.
Myrna. I see
Yes.
Myrna's hand.
Okay, let me just wait until Myrna speaks because I've spoken already. I'll wait after Myrna.
Okay, no, I was looking at the hand. Hi, Myrna.
Hey everyone, good evening. I just want to say that I'm sitting here and I am so enormously proud of my dupes, my best friend. And I'm very honored too. And when she sent me the first draft of Amelia Disappears, and I saw the Grandma Myrna, and I called her and said, why Grandma Myrna? I didn't know if I was to feel offended because using Grandma Myrna. I had so many mixed emotions when I saw that. And when I read the book, and I called her up and I said, I don't know if you should use Grandma Myrna in this. And I thought back to a number of things because we have been on a journey since about, I'm not even going to say how long that journey is. I'm so happy that she brought me along that journey with her. And we've had so many moments of wine and cheese, moments of crackers and tea, moments of slurping on a cane,
Porridge.
moments, you used to hear, who that saying the porridge and know that because Jolie complained so bitterly about the way that we ate cane when we stopped and bought cane on our rides in the evening. Moments of lily water on my white shirt, them. So moments of taking me safely through communities that I was never exposed to before in my life and giving me that feeling and helping me to learn. Angela was the one who brought me into community development work. And for that, I am most honored. And I just want to say a couple of things about these two books because they have been so eloquently spoken of. But the cultural significance of Amelia Disappears, especially for us who are raising children and grandchildren outside of Jamaica. And when I bought the copy of Amelia, well, the 5 copies for the grandchildren, right? And I sat with two of them, an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they read the book. The 8-year-old, it took her about an hour. Because 8-year-old reading in America is not the same as 8-year-old reading in Jamaica. And at the end of the book, they gave me their assessment of the book. And I told Angela, I immediately texted Angela and I said, your book just got a critique. And I told her exactly what they said. And it was very interesting observations they had. And one of the observations they had was that they could not see how the story jumped to the domestic violence piece. They felt that it was so out of place. And that was a teachable moment because it allowed me to explain to them some of the things that happened to us as young girls. And for that, I am so thankful. The other book, The Signs and Wonders, it is such a great book. And that ability to shift from a children's book to writing a book like Signs and Wonders is an amazing gift, Angela. And it takes me back to something that is, and I'm sorry I'm taking so much time, but
you have 1 minute. 1 minute.
Friend, I think I have earned that, right? But that book is such an amazing book to be able to capture those stories the way that you have, that the importance of anthropology and the social sciences and all of those things within that book, the faith and the perseverance, the creativity, and all of those things. There has been one book in my life, apart from this book, that I've gone through the all night reading. The only other book I've spent an entire night, well, 3 nights without any sleep, was The Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, yes, yes.
And reading this book, I spent an entire night. I knew all the stories before the book was written, but I spent an entire night taking the next day off from work so I could finish the book because I could not put it down. This is a testament of your ability as an author and as a storyteller, because you are one of those persons when you're telling a story, even if we're talking on the phone from 2,000 miles away, I know the taste of everything around, that's the sense, everything.
Marna?
The feelings, emotions,
yes.
Everything. That awesome. Is how great you are.
Thank you for that testimony, Myrna.
I love you, my dupes.
Thank you. Yes. Bringing such power and honesty and love. But you see, we are under the management of Zoom, and I am under the management of Carol. I have 5 minutes. Pat, I'm going to allow you 1 because we have to wrap and we have a performance.
Yes, thank you very much, Elaine. Them said Kim Teed cover heartburn. And Punky, thank you so much for allowing us to Kim Teed this evening. Herbert, thank you for burning our hearts. I have been connected with people who are multi-millionaires in Jamaica, very, very close proximity. And the disconnect between those of us who have and those who have not, in terms of resources, really, the starkness of it was brought up back for me this evening, Herbert, when you reminded us of the dungeon in which we exist, despite the beauty and the paradise. And Angela, I want to thank you so much because like somebody else who spoke, I have lived in Jamaica for 62 years, but there are portions of Jamaica I never ever countenanced. And you were a part of me being able to do that. And this conversation this evening, even as we celebrate your work, reminds us of the responsibility we have, who have been exposed to certain things, the responsibility and the burden we have to write, to document, to find ways to put it out there. And also the responsibility those of us have who still are connected to multi-millionaires right here in Jamaica or wherever we reside, because we are connected. to decision makers, to people in places of power. We are connected. The responsibility we have, as Elaine says, to raise certain questions and to have the courage. This conversation reminds me of that this is a planet that is evolving. We are only here for the moment, but we are still here. We have the responsibility to continue to work at the challenges. Kinted cover heartburn, but I'm so glad that the heartburn exposed this evening. Thank you, Punky. Thank you, Herbert.
Thank you very much, Pat. We have 5 more minutes, and we certainly would not want to exclude our drumming performance in our closing program with Joy Erskine. And as soon as she completes, we are invited to join hearts and voices together to serenade Angela with that beautiful anthem written by Bob Marley called One Love. Empress Joy. Wow. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yep. You're welcome.
Shireen, did you have your hand up? I can't see it from where I am. I'm not seeing any hands at all,
Yes,
but we need to
I
wrap.
did. Yes, I did.
Yes, so please quickly, I have 30 seconds.
Just want to big up the author. Like most persons, I knew the storyteller so long ago because, you know, when we draw the long bench, you know, I know how well she tells a story. So Punky, just big up yourself, and we look forward to great things, greater things.
Yes,
and
thank
all
you.
the best.
Thank you, Shireen.
Give
Thank
thanks,
you.
Shireen. Give
Bless
thanks.
you.
Big up yourself,
Bless
too.
you. We know your work as well, Shireen. Yes, bless you all. Janet Brown, as we close, I have been so humbled to be in this company of saints of real development and caring for those on whose backs this nation has been built. I've listened, learned, and prayed for the lessons to manifest in greater advocacy and action. So we are all motivated. Let's be mobilized into action, advocacy and action. Thank you for those 2 words, Janet. Carol, I'd like you to come forward, step up. I'd like to see you. Ian, can you facilitate so that together we can close this program and just raise our voices. So who is supposed to be singing One Love? All are we? Led by who?
Led by Azuri. Led by Azuri. Yes.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And
good.
Azuri, this time please sit to the laptop because when you stand, your voice.
I'm using a mic. I'm using a mic.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Because your voice is so fabulous.
Okay.
Azuri wants to be
Take us out.
performer mode. Let's
And then we're
go.
we're joining in, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we are.
come on, everybody, get the singing voice together. And while Azuri brings up the tune, we just want to give thanks to everyone who joined us this evening. Thank you all who shared. Thank you everyone who has taken the time. Our thanks to Janet Brown, and our thanks as well to Herbert Gale. To all the practitioners online, we know your work and we respect and honor you. We are grateful for all that you have done. We thank Angela Stultz, Punky Stultz, all her children, all her grandchildren, everyone who participated. We thank as well those who supported Angela in the production of these books, from editing to proofreading to illustration, you name it. I'm sure we speak for Angela when we say it could not have been done without you. We thank Ian McKnight, her ride or die right there in Trinidad, in Toronto.
Yes.
We thank as well Consul General of Miami, Oliver Mayer, for the remarks that he brought. Joyce McKenzie and all others who have participated in this program. Thank you, Horace. Thank you, Joy Erskine. And thanks to my co-host, my sister friend, Elaine Wint. Big up yourself, Angela Punky Stultz. And
Big
we
up
are
yourself,
so
Auntie.
grateful to have
Thank you.
on our shelves now available Signs and Wonders, and Amelia Disappears.
And just one last comment from Alisa Henderson. She says, Angela, it has been an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. You are a star. And I'm looking forward now to getting some copies of Amelia Disappears and for reading it myself. It's now 2 a.m. and here I am going to bed. Yes, hope to meet up with you when COVID allows. A great evening with so many nation builders celebrating the work of Punky. Elaine and Carol, take a bow. Professor Herbie, as usual, you provide great insight. Big up all of us from Shereen. And so now over to our beloved.
Elaine,
Yes.
Elaine, the children, that last one goes to the children. Read the last one.
Absolutely. I think Carol did that, but yes, we can't say too much for the children.
No, it says, Noel says, I am forever proud of you, Mom. You will forever be my inspiration.
Oh. So let's go. One love, our time is going.
Okay.
Okay, take us out, Azuri.
One love, one heart. Let's get
together and feel alright.
One heart. Thanks and praise to the Lord.
And I'll feel alright.
Together and feel alright. Oh, let them all pass all day. Dirty reminds. There is one question I'd really love to ask.
Let's join the chorus and let Azuri sing.
For the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own. Believe me, sing. One love, one heart. Let's get together and alright. One love, so shall it be in the end. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together to fight this holy battle. When the man comes, there will be no pity on those whose chances grow thinner. There ain't no hiding place for the Father of creation. Believe me. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Thank you, Azuri. Thank you. Thank you.
Big up, big up, big up, big up.
Thanks, everyone.
Congratulations, Auntie.
Taking a picture. Taking a picture.
Love, Empress, beautiful.
Smile, taking a picture. I'm taking a picture. Smile.
Yes.
Got a
Bye. Thank you.
Smile, page 2.
Bye-bye. Wonderful. Pedro, you can play She's Royal for us to take us out. Thank you, Angela Stultz.
Yeah, play that, Pedro.
Inspiration.
June.
Yeah. No, I've never been someone shy until I see your eyes. Still, I had to try.
Turn it up, Mr. Selector.
Let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry. No, I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, so royal.
You, Angela.
Royal tribes in my life. So one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen. Ooh, ooh, what a natural beauty.
Hey, Queen Angela.
She's a queen. She's a queen.
Angel, messenger of God.
That's what a good woman's made of. She's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, so royal, and I need her in my life. I never knew anyone.
Angela,
until the night that I see your eyes. My queen, so supreme.
Angela.
I can see it in her eyes. The way she smiles. Hey, yes, I know the king and queen crown, see I'm tired, so I never leave your side. She says she no mind. Angela, I know good man is all the time. And she telling about that jungle night. She has no ties at this time. Yeah, I know many men are trying, but she needs to be more than wine.
Hey, Queen Angela.
She's royal, so royal, and I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so divine. The way she moves to her own beat. She has the quality of a queen, so supreme. Ooh, natural beauty, no need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen, so supreme, yeah. And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, so royal, and I want her in my life. I never knew anyone. Hi, everyone. She has the quality of a queen.
So party just starts. And listen, I just want to pause as well to just give thanks to Pedro. Pedro, I wish I had gotten your surname. So Angela, please help me with Pedro's surname. But Pedro has managed the technicals of this evening, and so give thanks, Pedro. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I dare to say,
Queens.
Yes, I dare to say there has never been a book launch like this on the planet before.
Powerhouse of women, powerhouse sisters from all over. I mean, just looking at the screen. I mean, where we first start from? Jamaica, New Jersey, Florida, Boston, Scotland, England. Oh my God. Boy. And then Canada. Powerhouse of beauties in all our form and glory. It's been a wonderful.
So give thanks everyone. Have a fantastic night.
And we continue to lift each other up.
Absolutely.
Catherine,
Bless up yourself, Angela.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, much love.
Zimbabwe, Catherine, Kenya. Yes, bye. Bless everyone. Good night.
Good night. Good night, Angela. Good night, Angela. Good.
Respect.
No, I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, so royal. And I want her.
Angela, Pedro, Ian, stay on the line at the end. And Elaine.
So one of a kind, no. The way she moves,
don't think your teeth, my dear.
She has the quality of a queen. She's a queen.
Take care of her.
Ooh, what a natural beauty. No need beauty. She's a queen.
Bye, everyone. Enough love.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Good night, all. Speak to you tomorrow, mommy. Good night. What a great.
Nobody leaving the party.
Speak to you tomorrow, mommy. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Asking Ian, Elaine, Angela, Pedro to stay online after everyone has left us.
Yeah, don't chase us. We are still having the party.
I can see it in her eyes, the way she smiles. Hey, yes, I know the king and queen crown, same time.
Angela, my husband
So
wants the
I'll
book.
never leave your side. Just stick with me through the trial times. Oh, and she says she no mind. Correct, I know good man is hard to find. And she can't about that giant line. That's why she has no ties at this time. Yeah, I know many men are trying, but she needs to be more than wine and dine because she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so divine. The way she moves to her own beat, she has the quality